Hey, what's up? This is Chosen and wanted to get a Raid Shadow Legends video out about the guaranteed event going on right here in White Dryad Naya, because it's not super common that we get Void champions up for a guaranteed. So I want to talk about the context around how people in the community are feeling and then how I'm feeling about this event. Important considerations that you're going to want to make before you pull, because we do have events coming up very soon that may affect your decision. So let's get into it. Alrighty, now first of all, I want to talk about the context of the different epics in the game and an event requiring 30 Void Shards. Now, we've seen Plarium do a decent amount of epics. We saw Ursula was the first one they did back in the day for 15 Voids for an epic, and then we saw them do Cold Art for 7 as a rare. That's kind of how they set the table for the first events that weren't legendaries. Then we saw Madame Ceres ramp up to 30. She was a lot more sought after back then. Madame Ceres has been power crept a lot in the last 2.5 years, but back in October of 2021 she was still one of the most used epics in the game, honestly, but has since kind of fallen out as better and better champions evolve over time. But pretty well, the going rate is about 25-30 sacreds. We saw Godseeker Aniri and Inquisitor right here for 25 both, and now we're getting White Dryad Naya for 30. Which is kind of interesting, because the surprising thing is they already did White Dryad Naya down here for 30 back in November of 2022, which, by the way, I've got to update this graphic. It's been a couple months. I need to add some of these. I think there's been a couple to fill in down here. But anyway, super interesting that they did White Dryad Naya back in November, so not even a year ago they did one for her already. I guess with the launch of the Sylvan Watchers faction crypt actually going live and all of that, they want an event out there to help you get an epic that will help you clear, and what they're hoping is you have an incentive to go after spending the 30 voids to chase after White Dryad Naya. For a quick refresher course on White Dryad Naya, her base stats are okay. It's a little bit unfortunate that her base speed is only 98, and that she also is going to have a base accuracy of 0, because she does need accuracy to get value out of the decreased speed here on the A1. She is a pretty sturdy champion because she scales with defense, and you can also put her in a stun set, which would make her a great progression candidate for faction wars. You put her in the stun set, and then you just fly through, constantly rotating through A1s, and you do stages over and over and over until you get good RNG and get lots of stun set procs. You also don't need any accuracy for your stun set procs. Then on the A2, she's going to remove all debuffs from a target ally and heal them, and then if the target skill is not on this champion, it's going to decrease cooldown, so she can help cycle the team a little bit quicker. And then the A3 is going to be an ally protector while also getting a strengthen, so a big toughness boost to your team if you're looking for 3-star clears in faction wars or something like that. And then whenever she is healed, she's going to heal all allies except herself for 20% of that heal. So lots of ally protection and heals and cycling and decreased speed, AoE A1, lots of just general utility for PvE content in relation to something like faction wars. And then if we look at how the community is feeling, shout out to the almost 5,000 of you that voted on our White Dryad Naya poll. Actually, a little bit surprising. We've got less people that want to pull compared to the event that they did where it was 40 Ancients for Wyranon as an epic to help out in the Sylvan Watchers, versus the one today for White Dryad Naya for 30 Voids. We've got 4% of people saying that they intend to pull for White Dryad Naya, as opposed to 7% wanting to pull for Wyranon. So almost double the participation for Wyranon yesterday as opposed to White Dryad Naya today. And there's going to be a few different explanations for that, but one of them is definitely going to be the value involved in getting the champion. So the one today for White Dryad Naya, 30 Voids, is going to be about $75 in retail value compared to Plarium's normal and average prices within game. If we compare that to Ancient Shards, where it took 40 Ancient Shards, 40 of those is going to have a retail value of 48. So about double the actual retail value in terms of shard cost to get White Dryad Naya versus Wyranon. But that's not the only reason, because we are also going to be getting a 2x Void Shard event happening this weekend. So for those of the people that are still in the progression phase of their account, where it would really make sense to go after White Dryad, well, for those people, it's going to be a lot better to pull your Void Shards during a 2x weekend, as opposed to just pulling 30 that are unboosted to go for White Dryad Naya. Even though she is a solid epic and is going to be really good in faction wars, you can put her in the stun set and all of that, and she's a decent support for progression. But if you're in the progression phase of your account, like if you're early or mid game, then you need to get champions like Seer and Maneater and some of these different champions that you're going to want to pull out of Void Shards. You want a couple copies of Cold Cold Heart, Demetha, stuff like that. So spending 30 of them when you're unboosted and you're not working towards a fusion or a 2x or anything like that is why some of the polling is going to be trending down compared to the Wyronon event. And then also, we're going to be getting a fusion event that's probably going to be pretty difficult to complete starting on next Thursday. So just about 1 week from now is when the Emik Trunken Heart fusion hybrid type of event they're going to be doing is going to be starting, and it's going to be a really difficult one because it's going to be similar to the Barogni one where it's a little bit of a hybrid. You have to get a bunch of different events to acquire fragments for epic champions, and then you're going to have to level up those 4 epic champions to fuse into the legendary. It's probably going to be pretty difficult to finish it, but he is a pretty hyped up champion, and the reason I think it's going to be difficult is because when they did a hybrid one like that for Barogni, it was very difficult and it cost players a lot of resources to get it done. And Barogni is magic affinity. So with this one being void affinity, which is very, very rare, Plarium, they really covet their void champions, and we don't see void fusions very often. So the fact that it's going to be that hybrid event and the fact that he is a void legendary, I think it's probably wise for players to start saving up their shards a little bit and prioritizing saving their resources to go after this guy because he has a pretty interesting kit, and players are thinking pretty highly of him as an event so far based off of what we know. We still need to learn the base stats and the multipliers and all that kind of stuff, but he's looking like he has potential to be a decently hyped up fusion. And we'll obviously keep monitoring this as we move forward, and I'll do dedicated breakdowns and stuff of the different sentiments within the community, but it looks like this is pretty solid for a new champion to have a 54% S rating for players' first reactions to their kit is insanely high. We are getting a positivity score here that is up in the 90th percentile, where we're getting these two combining for about 92%, and then the negative rating, I usually call it like these top two are going to be the positive rating, and then these bottom two are going to be the negative rating. We're only getting 8% between these two down here in terms of a negative score, grading him C, D, or F. So he's probably going to be a fusion that lots of players want to go after. So I would probably lean towards prioritizing gearing up over the next 6 days to prepare for being able to get the fragments for the 4 epics that are going to be required to fuse into him. And all those reasons combined are going to be why we see the low 4% score in terms of pulling some of those void shards for White Dryad Naya, which I agree with the community. I think for 95 something percent of you out there, it's probably going to be optimal for you to skip the White Dryad Naya event, because really no matter who you are in terms of a player, if you're early game, you want to be waiting for the 2x event coming soon to be pulling for more of those champions. If you are scaling towards more of the end game, you're going to want to hold off and start preparing to make sure you have enough resources to go after a new good fusion event that's going to be launching next week. So that is my thoughts on the White Dryad Naya guaranteed event going on, and let me know your thoughts down below. If you are pulling shards for her, good luck. I hope you get something epic for your account on your 30 shard journey to acquire her, and I appreciate you. It would mean a lot to earn your sub down below if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I'll see you soon in the next video. Thanks. Peace.